This content is for informational purposes only and does not replace professional medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for personal health concerns. Did you know that 90% of non-melanoma skin cancers are directly associated with exposure to ultraviolet radiation from the sun? It is a staggering reality that underscores a quiet, daily battle happening on the surface of your skin. Most of us view a morning application of sunscreen as a routine chore, perhaps something we only consider when heading to the beach or planning a long day outdoors. Yet, the invisible energy streaming from the sun is constantly interacting with your cells, regardless of whether the sky is bright blue or hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds. We often think of sunlight as a source of warmth and vitamin D, but there is a complex, high-energy process occurring at the molecular level that we simply cannot perceive with our naked eyes. Many individuals operate under the assumption that a light tan is a sign of health or that short trips outside are harmless. However, current research suggests that cumulative exposure to ultraviolet rays can lead to significant changes in skin structure and cellular integrity over time. When those rays penetrate the epidermis, they initiate a chain reaction that can damage the very blueprints of your skin cells. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by the science of skincare, especially when faced with rows of bottles promising different levels of protection, varying ingredients, and confusing terminology. Understanding how these products actually function transforms your daily habit from a passive act into an informed, proactive choice for your long-term wellness. By peeling back the layers of how we shield ourselves, we can move past the marketing hype and focus on the evidence-based reality of protection. As we dive into the mechanics of these formulations, we will clarify exactly how they act as a barrier against those invisible threats, helping you make the best decisions for your unique skin needs. Let's begin by examining what happens the moment those rays make contact with your skin and how your defense system actually gets to work. To understand how we stay protected, we first have to look at the invisible architecture of sunlight. While visible light gives us color and warmth, it is the ultraviolet portion, specifically UVA and UVB rays, that interacts with our skin at a molecular level. Think of UV radiation as high-energy packets of light. These are the rays most responsible for immediate redness and the long-term cellular damage associated with sunburns. UVA rays, by contrast, have longer wavelengths that penetrate much deeper into the dermis. This is where the chemistry of sunscreen becomes truly fascinating. These formulations act as a molecular shield, and they generally achieve this through two distinct mechanisms: physical reflection and chemical absorption. At a microscopic level, these minerals function like a fine, protective veil. When UV photons strike these particles, the minerals scatter, reflect, and absorb the radiation, effectively dissipating that energy before it can penetrate your living cells. On the other hand, chemical filters, like avobenzone or octisalate, work through a more internal process. Rather than acting as a mirror, these organic compounds are designed to absorb UV radiation. It absorbs the energy of the photon and converts it into a tiny, harmless amount of heat, which is then released away from your skin. Studies indicate that this process happens in a fraction of a second, effectively neutralizing the radiation before it can trigger the DNA damage that leads to cellular mutation. Some formulations even combine both physical and chemical agents to ensure broader coverage across the entire UV spectrum. Understanding how these molecules bind to your skin and form a uniform film is the next piece of the puzzle, as we move from the high-level physics of radiation to the practical reality of how to ensure that coverage stays intact throughout your day. To achieve that perfect, uniform film, you first need to understand the two distinct strategies your sunscreen uses to guard your skin: physical blockers and chemical absorbers. Think of these as two entirely different defensive philosophies working toward the same goal. You can visualize these as a microscopic layer of tiny mirrors resting on the surface of your skin. When ultraviolet rays reach this barrier, these minerals act as a shield, reflecting and scattering the radiation before it ever has a chance to penetrate your epidermis. They start working the moment they touch your skin, providing an immediate line of defense. However, because they sit on top, some people find their texture to be a bit thicker or notice a faint white cast after application. These formulas don't just sit on the surface. They are designed to be absorbed into the top layer of your skin. Ingredients like avobenzone, octisalate, or oxybenzone function more like a sponge than a mirror. They absorb the incoming radiation, transform that energy into a tiny amount of heat, and then safely release it away from your body. Because these ingredients are absorbed, they tend to be thinner, spread more easily, and disappear completely into the skin, making them a popular choice for daily wear. Choosing between the two often comes down to your personal lifestyle and how your skin reacts to different textures. Some people prefer the immediate, reliable nature of minerals, while others favor the invisible, lightweight feel of chemical absorbers. The most effective protection is the one you actually enjoy applying, because consistency remains the greatest factor in preventing skin damage over time. But even with the right filter chosen, the environment can be harsh on that protective layer. Now that we understand how these ingredients neutralize radiation, we need to look at how to keep that barrier from breaking down when you are caught in the heat of the day. Maintaining that shield requires more than just a morning smear. SPF, or sun protection factor, is often misunderstood as a measure of time, but it actually quantifies the amount of UV radiation required to cause sunburn on protected skin compared to unprotected skin. Beyond this number, look for the term broad spectrum. This is non-negotiable because it confirms the product guards against both UVB rays, which cause surface burns, and UVA rays, which penetrate deeper to trigger premature aging and cellular damage. The most frequent error isn't the choice of product, but the quantity applied. Think of it in terms of coverage. Your face and neck need about a nickel-sized dollop, while your entire body requires roughly a shot glass full. Furthermore, timing is vital. Chemical filters require about 15 to 20 minutes to bond with your skin before they become fully effective. Even if you apply perfectly, the sun is relentless. The golden rule is reapplication every 2 hours, or immediately after swimming or heavy perspiration. Even water-resistant formulas are not waterproof. They are simply tested to hold their SPF rating for 40 or 80 minutes in the water. Finally, consider the hidden spots. By treating your sunscreen as a dynamic, evolving layer rather than a set it and forget it morning ritual, you ensure that your skin stays resilient against the sun's persistent influence. In summary, protecting your skin is a 3-part harmony. Choose a broad-spectrum formula with an SPF of at least 30, apply a generous, uniform layer well before stepping outside, and commit to consistent reapplication throughout the day. This content is for informational purposes only. If you found this information helpful, feel free to share it with someone you care about who might appreciate these tips for staying safe under the sun.